In the vast, deep seas, where dawn is just beginning to break over the horizon, fishing boats begin their long journeys in search of flounder, a flat-bodied bottom fish that often hides in the sand or mud on the seabed. Catching flounder requires extensive experience, specialized equipment and keen observation from the fishermen. Unlike other pelagic fish, flounder do not swim in schools on the surface of the water but often lie still on the bottom, camouflaging themselves with their environment, making detection and capture much more difficult. Fishermen often use trawlers or bottom lines to catch flounder. With the trawling method, a giant net is lowered into the sea and pulled close to the bottom using two heavy iron doors called net doors, which help widen the mouth of the net and stir up the sediment, forcing the flounder to leave their hiding places and be drawn into the net. The hauls usually last from a few dozen minutes to a few hours, depending on the sea conditions and the captain's experience. After the haul, the net is pulled up. Opened in the middle of the ship's hold, and the flat, round flounders, with dark backs and white bellies, slide along the wet deck, mingling with other creatures such as crabs, starfish, and small fish. The sailors quickly sort and select the flounders, size them, and then put them in ice boxes to keep them fresh. In addition to the hauling method, fishermen can also use bottom fishing by dropping hundreds of baited hooks to the seabed, each hook spaced at regular intervals. The bait is usually herring, squid, or small fish. After a certain period of time, the fishing line is pulled up using an automatic reel system, and if lucky, each flounder will be pulled up, swinging obediently in the air, firmly hooked into the mouth. However, bottom fishing is time-consuming and does not yield as much as trawling, so it is often used during lean seasons or in areas with coral reefs where trawling is prone to failure. During the journey, fishermen not only face the harshness of the sea, big waves, strong winds, sudden storms, but also have to constantly adjust equipment, check nets, handle fish, record catches, locate schools of fish and coordinate well with other members of the boat. Each fishing trip can last from a few days to a few weeks, depending on the weather, fishing grounds and storage capacity on board. Modern boats today are equipped with radar systems, GPS, fish finders and seabed monitoring devices to increase the ability to detect flounder schools and reduce fishing time. However, in many seas, especially in coastal areas or small boats of traditional fishermen, flounder fishing still relies on intuition, experience and knowledge passed down from generation to generation. The eyes of experienced fishermen can observe the color of the sea surface, the direction of the waves, the currents and even the slightest changes in the behavior of seabirds to judge where the flounders gather. Despite the hardship and danger, flounder fishing is still the livelihood of thousands of coastal families. Contributing significantly to the fisheries industry of many countries. After being brought ashore, the flounders will undergo preliminary processing, freezing or fresh distribution to restaurants and wholesale markets, bringing high economic value thanks to the quality of the delicious, soft and nutritious meat. Therefore, each trip to catch flounder is not only a way of life but also a testament to the resilience, perseverance and ingenuity of sea workers, people who spend their days and nights with the wind and waves. In the vast ocean where the small flatfish becomes a precious treasure that everyone longs to find since the boat left the dock. The fishermen have carried the expectations of their families and the community behind them. Each flounder caught is not only food, but also the result of much effort, calculation, and even a bet with nature. During the fishing process, fishermen always have to consider between yield and protecting marine resources. Flounder have a special reproductive cycle. Usually spawning in spring or early summer, so fishing areas must be clearly defined to avoid exploitation during the reproductive period, which would reduce the population. In some countries, the government also sets strict regulations such as sea closure time, production quotas, minimum harvest size, and requirements for the use of environmentally friendly nets to ensure the sustainability of the fishery. Long-time fishermen understand this and often strictly comply, because they not only think about today, but also about the future, so that future generations will still have fish to catch and the sea to live. On the boat, life is urgent and regular with each net pull. Each member has a specific role: the engine operator, the net puller, the fish sorter, the equipment checker, all working together in a smooth machine. There are times when they have to work day and night without rest. The fishermen only take a few hours of sleep and then continue working amid the roar of the engine. The sound of waves crashing against the side of the boat and the salty smell of the sea permeating their clothes and skin. Meals on the boat are often simple. Cold rice with dried fish. Sometimes just instant noodles, but everyone eats quickly and then returns to their positions. There are dark nights. Thick fog covers the sea. The boat seems to be lost in the sea of fog. The space is quiet with only the sound of waves and dim light from the cabin. But the nets still have to be dropped. The fish still have to be caught. There are times when there are storms. The boat rocks violently. Water floods the deck. Everyone has to keep balance while protecting the equipment, the nets and the fish they have caught. At those times, solidarity is the most important thing to overcome danger. No one leaves anyone behind. No one complains, because everyone knows that just a small mistake can cost the whole trip, even their lives. After many days at sea, when the ship's hold is full of flounder or when fuel and food are running out, the ship will return to shore in a mixture of joy and fatigue. The scene of the ship docking is always a special moment. People on shore rush out to welcome. Boxes of fish are unloaded, weighed, and divided. The smell of fresh fish, the sound of laughter, and the calls to each other make the fishing port come alive like a special market that only takes place when the ship returns. The flounder are carefully selected to be brought to the processing plant, where they are cleaned, filleted, frozen, or packaged according to export standards. Another part is quickly transferred to restaurants, seafood markets, or domestic consumption centers. The quality of flounder meat is soft, fragrant, boneless and rich in nutrients, making it a popular specialty, especially in the Japanese, Korean, European and American markets. There are particularly large flounders, up to several dozen kilos, sold at very high prices, bringing in large income for the whole trip. However, fishermen do not overexploit because of this, because they understand that the ocean is like a mother, if cared for and treated properly. She will bestow precious products, but if destroyed and exploited to the point of exhaustion, the price to pay will be very high. Therefore, those who live with the ocean always have deep respect always attached to the laws of nature, the water flow and the natural movement of each fishing season. Although flounder fishing is arduous and harsh, for fishermen, it is not only a job but also a life, a passion that is closely tied to flesh and blood. In their hearts there is always the sea. There are fish. There are dawns breaking on the cold wet deck. There is the rustling sound of the nets. There is hope every time they go out to sea. And there is also the dream of a bright future from the quiet flounders lying deep at the bottom of the vast ocean. The trips continue year-round. Seasonally, following the migration of flounder, which the fishermen flexibly adjust their itinerary. During the peak season, when cold and nutrient-rich water flows in, flounder gathers on the seabed. Which is the golden time to go out to sea. Boats are crowded offshore. Fishing lights illuminate the entire night sea. Each boat is a separate world, a makeshift home in the middle of the ocean, where men quietly face nature and themselves. On the deck, there are people with gray hair from decades of work. There are young men who follow their fathers to sea for the first time. All have one thing in common: they understand that patience and perseverance are vital factors in this profession. To catch flounder, sometimes you have to travel hundreds of nautical miles, searching for signals on the seabed using reflected sound waves, then observing hydrographic maps, water temperature, and current speed. Those who are observant and experienced can recognize a school of fish with just a strange streak of foam or an unusually calm area. There are some successful trips, with nets pulled up heavy, flounders lining the hold, everyone excited, eyes bright despite their exhausted bodies. But there are also many times when they return empty-handed. The sea is quiet, no fish appear, or only a few small catches are caught. Enough to cover fuel, food and pay the sailors. At times like these, fishermen sit quietly, light a cigarette, look up at the sea without complaining, because they know that the sea gives some days and keeps some days. Catching flounder is not just a job, but also a harmonious combination between humans and nature, between modern technology and survival instinct. Some coastal areas are now developing a responsible fishing model, where fleets strictly comply with reporting on output, size, and catch coordinates so that authorities can monitor fluctuations in the flounder population. Remote monitoring devices, cameras, and net sensors are also gradually being applied to make the fishing process transparent. This professionalization does not take away the romance of the sea profession, but also makes the image of fishermen more respectable. They are not only manual laborers but also true ocean managers. In the folk culture of many coastal areas, flounder is also considered a symbol of luck, steadfastness, and silence. Some families consider the first flounder of the season as a gift for the new year, offering it to their ancestors, praying for a calm sea and a full hold of fish. Children growing up by the sea have been told stories by their fathers about flounder, a deformed fish with two eyes on the same side, always hiding in the sand but surprisingly agile when hunting. The story of the flounder seems to be a metaphor for the life of fishermen, quiet, humble, but resilient and indomitable. When the sun sets, boats anchor peacefully at the harbor. The gentle sound of waves and the lights from each coastal house are like a quiet lullaby. In the small house, a man returns from a long trip, his skin sunburned, his hands calloused, his eyes dark from many sleepless nights. On the table is a plate of fragrant grilled flounder, the result of many days drifting at sea. He doesn't talk much, just quietly eats with his wife and children. smiling when he hears the children chattering about school. The happiness of fishermen is that simple: to return after each trip, to live with the profession left by their ancestors, to see that there is still plenty of flounder offshore so that tomorrow he can go out to sea to continue the journey. And so, life continues with each wave, each net, each fishing season, like a silent song about courage, perseverance and steadfast faith in the vast ocean on cold winter nights, when the sea is pitch black and the wind blows from the open sea. Flounder fishing boats silently dart into the night, like arrows piercing the silence in search of invisible treasures at the bottom. At that time, there is no light except the dim headlights from the cabin and the faint stars above. Only the dull sound of the engine, the sound of the waves and the sound of the cables stretching with each cast of the net. The cold penetrates the bones, but no one rests, because just a moment of carelessness can cause the loss of the entire net. Even their lives. In that moment, the fishermen seem to become one with the ocean. They are not afraid of the wind, not afraid of the waves, only afraid that the net will be pulled up empty, afraid that all their efforts will be in vain. The flounder still lies quietly below, in the soft sand at the bottom, as if testing the patience of their pursuers. There were days when the net was pulled up, not only flounder but also sea trash, broken coral, algae, and even dead fish. Each time, the captain frowned. The sailors silently cleaned up and continued searching for another location, because they knew the sea was not always generous. Catching flounder was a journey of constant learning. Today the sea was warm. The fish went deeper. The next day the waves changed direction. The net had to be pulled in a different direction. The next day the school of fish changed their migration route. The whole plan had to be changed. No one taught these changes in books. Only the sea could teach them, with its severity and sometimes cruelty. But that was why the fishermen became experienced, able to survive in this ocean without support. On the ship, time seemed to stop. All activities revolved around the work of catching and preserving flounder. When the nets are big, everyone is busy. One person holds the hook to pull the fish. Another herds them into baskets, then dumps them onto conveyor belts to slide down to cold storage. Below the hold, the flounder are carefully arranged between layers of ice to preserve their freshness. The larger ones are sorted and marked, because they can fetch high prices when sold to foreign markets. Every operation requires precision. Just leaving the fish exposed to the air for a few hours without proper refrigeration will cause the meat to lose its firmness, reducing its commercial value. Therefore, flounder fishermen need not only good health but also knowledge and skills in seafood preservation, understanding of the market, and the ability to adapt flexibly to the weather, currents, and fish sources. They are no longer people who just cast their nets and wait for luck. They are sea warriors, scientists without degrees, but who understand the seabed better than anyone. In some areas, fishermen combine flounder fishing with environmental protection, voluntarily recording the coordinates of flounder spawning sites to limit fishing during the spawning season, or moving to other areas when they discover that the seabed is degraded. They participate in training sessions, share experiences with each other, and together find ways to protect marine resources in the long term. Colleagues at sea are therefore stronger. They may be strangers on land, but as soon as they meet in the middle of the ocean, they are ready to help each other with cables, repair machines, share food, give weather warnings, or even save each other in times of trouble. Life at sea makes everyone understand that there is nothing out there but each other. In the middle of the ocean, people are each other's only support, and it is these things that have created a close-knit united, and humane fishing community, even though the profession they choose is one of the most dangerous in the world. When the last ships dock at the end of the season, the fishing port is bustling like a festival. The high-stacked crates of flounder were unloaded, weighed, and distributed, the ship's whistles mixed with the calls of each other, creating a unique symphony that could only be found in fishing villages. Everyone's face was filled with satisfaction, not just because they had sold the fish, but because they had returned safely, had survived another stormy sea season, and had won another silent battle with nature. And when night fell, in the small house by the sea, the fishermen sat mending their nets under the yellow light, listening to the murmuring waves, silently telling themselves that tomorrow they would go out to sea again, to begin a new journey to find the flounders that were quietly waiting at the bottom, like a never-ending promise between humans and the vast ocean. And so, the wheel of time of the sea industry still turns steadily like each wave that never stops. When a fishing season ends, fishermen do not allow themselves to rest for too long. They start to maintain their boats, check the engines, replace the tow lines, mend the nets, sharpen the hooks, all to prepare for the next fishing season. The nets, the frayed cables, every piece of peeling wood on the deck are all carefully